in my phone.
Court is in session with Ryan in Sacktown on If You Don't Like That. Now, Ryan in Sacktown.
Oh, must be Rhino.
We had to
Feel good about yourself, Ryan. You're just a part of the King's court.
Thanks, Jim. What's up? We had to relaunch. The X platform was not connecting, and I see it's going to affect some of our viewers. Let's get at it. Get up in here. We want to hear from you. Kings win last night. A lot to go over. Spread the word that we are on. Not sure how it affects YouTube. Should be the same link. If it's not the same link, let me know. We'll figure it out. But full Tuesday planned for you. Hey, are you going to start having Kings withdrawals? This is going to be the last couple of nights. This is our last night of basketball. It's our only last night of basketball until the All-Star break. Then it's going to be about a week off. So we've got a lot to talk about. Many of you calling, praying for the double big action. You saw it last night in Dallas. A lot to go over. We're going to go to the whiteboard. I saw a lot of good things from last night. I saw a lot of bad things as well. It's actually quite impressive that the Kings were able to overcome the amount of turnovers that they had. Dallas had, I believe it was 14 points off of 8 Kings turnovers in the first quarter. Insane. You don't usually see that. The Kings pulled through, didn't necessarily get a good whistle either, as everybody's kind of trailing in, figuring out the link. Yes, we are live. So we'll get to it all on the backside. We've got calls waiting, so want to hear from you as well. If you want to call the show, now is the time. Hit the link in the chat. I will put it there one more time for you. But it's a Tuesday. Let's get it here on the King's Court on If You Don't Like That.
Grant and Ryan, break it down. It's Sacktown, we're the crown.
Needs to be more aggressive on the offensive end, but this is the time to get
It's such a weird transition there. We are working on a new intro. What's up, everybody? Ryan with you, getting you all settled in. We've got about 24 hours without basketball. Good thing for the Kings. Heck of a win last night. How about DeMar DeRozan coming through in the clutch? Loved Coach Christie going to the double bigs. Lots to talk about on the back end with the Kings. So I'm gonna get to it here in a couple minutes. We also have some other housekeeping items that I would like to talk about as well. Where y'all at? Spread the word that we're on. Okay, anybody that's watching from YouTube. So Todd, I see you're watching from YouTube. Did you have to go to a different video, or is it still under the same thumbnail? Because I had to start the show twice. Let me know. I would like to know. In fact, I could probably do that myself. So while I wait for that answer, by the way, this is kind of a weird day. It's an empty house here in the Rhino household, which means the little one is at school. What's up, MC? Appreciate you. The little one's at school. Wife is traveling for work. Proud of her. Happy for her. Her promotion means she travels now. Good stuff, right? Here's the problem. The dog is attached to my feet. The dog is in the studio. The dog is usually not here, but he might raise a little bit of hell today. So I'm giving everybody a heads up. And you know what? I might as well just show you the dog so you understand what I am dealing with. Yeah, this is the dog. When I say dog, it's more like small mammal. He's massive. Look at how big his head is compared to mine. He is a big freaking boy. So I apologize in advance if you see me jolt a little bit, if you see the desk shake, if you hear any of that because he's like right here, yo. And if you listen to the King's Court and you listen to the audio version, you've heard him in the past. When I try to record in the mornings, it is so hard. It's like 3-4 takes just to get the good morning out without the dog going. So you have your heads up. So appreciate everybody for dealing with that and helping me out. Dog is fam. Indeed. Dog is fan. That is not a dog. That is a panda bear. He is massive. Haunted Horse has seen him. He sheds a lot. I mean, a lot. I was talking to my wife about this the other day. Said if we ever sell our house, we're going to have to give the buyers a credit for dog hair. Because the next person that lives here, they're going to find dog hair. And no matter what we do. We could clean this place down top to bottom. There's still going to be some dog hair floating around. There's just no way to avoid it. The dog runs the house. You know what the dog does, Kevin? The dog can actually catch an entire hot dog in his mouth from about 5 yards away, and he doesn't have to chew it. He catches it, done. Not even a bite. He just gets it down the gullet. It's incredible. So yeah, Gordo getting a lot of reaction. Wow. Did you have waffles this morning, Jay and Humboldt? No, Jay, I did not have waffles. No need to explain to the viewers what that is, Jay. Love you, brother. Hope you're well. C-Dog, if you click on the profile, the live pops up. Okay, so that's the problem. The other one is not there. All right, fair enough. Fair enough. It might be a little bit light around here. All good. We're doing the same show. I'm happy you are here. So let's get it. Kevin, all right. Here you go, Kevin.
Acknowledge me.
Yeah, YouTube changed to a different link. Yep. So there you go. So we'll get it figured out. Holy crap, this dude. I'm not going to make him wait. He's been trying to call for a minute. New dude around here. Love this guy. Bennett's patron all the time. Great Kings fan. Great Kings Court fan. Let's go right to the phone lines. BG, what's up, dude?
Oh, what's up, man?
What's up, brother?
Trying to figure out. I was just going to tell you, YouTube's not working.
Oh, YouTube's not working?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're up and running now. I had to stop the show because X was not working.
Oh, okay.
So I'll try to figure out how to get that retweeted out there. I don't know quite how to do that. My HR IT guy, Haunted Horse, he is busy at the moment in the chat. So we'll figure it out. If not, we'll just have a good show with who we have. So I appreciate it. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. How was your day?
Excellent. No complaints. Got a 100-pound dog at my feet.
I was also going to tell you my bad about yesterday, man.
No problem. No problem.
That was my fault. My fault.
No worries, dude. So, thoughts on last night? Anything pop off the screen to you?
It was. I'll take the win. Any way we can get it.
Okay, love it. And Bennett's. Tell us about your Bennett's experience.
Oh, that was phenomenal. They gave us a discount for the first time by referring it from you guys.
No way. Did they really?
Yeah, they gave us 15% off when we went the first time.
How about that? That's incredible. I love that. Who did you get to meet? Brian or anybody?
Yeah.
You did get to meet Brian.
Yeah.
Awesome. I love that. So good stuff, brother. Well, appreciate you kicking us off today.
I appreciate it too. Trying to get this figured out, but have a good show.
Thanks, BG. That's a way to make your first call. I appreciate it. Let me get this link out there really quick, and we will be off to the races on this show. Let's see. BG keeps calling back. Okay, that's who keeps beeping. I'm going to tweet out this link. And by the way, I've got some. Did anybody listen to the audio version of the King's Court today? I'm curious if anybody caught that. Let me know what you thought about it, because I'm going to talk briefly about it today. I'm not going to go too far into it. So, all right, almost done. Multitasking, not doing a very good job of it. Come on, Ryan, you're being terrible.
That's terrible.
And now my mixer's not working. What is going on? If my wife leaves, stuff doesn't work here? Holy crap. For today. Look at, I'm doing the Grant Napier and Jerry Reynolds thing right now. Just trying to figure out the IT on the fly. All right, there we go. I'm sorry. You have my full attention. All right, Kings. That was a heck of a win last night. Can we call these guys the Cardiac Kings again? Holy crap. Victory gave me anxiety. I don't know, honestly, how you win that game. I'm being dead serious. They were down, 10 or 12 in the fourth quarter at one point. You turn the ball over 21 times. 21 freaking times. That is massive. Points off of turnovers last night. Bonkers. Where did it finish? Let's see if I can get to... Oh, that's only through regulation. So off of regulation last night, because they played the extra 5 points off of turnovers. How about this? 33 points off of 20 turnovers. 33 points off of 20 turnovers through regulation, meaning the Kings had one more in the overtime period. By the way, the Kings got an awful whistle last night. I don't usually like playing that game, but it was a terrible whistle. I have to give it to Zach LaVine, too. I appreciate Zach LaVine staying with it. He still kept going to the rim. He still kept trying to draw a foul. No matter what he did, he could not get a foul call. By the way, De'Aaron Fox got 18 free throw attempts in their game. 18? I guess it changes scenery, changes the way you're reffed. I don't know. I didn't see anything different in his game, but enough about him. He is no longer a King. I was really, again, surprised at this one. The effort was very, very good from these guys. If Grant was here, I guarantee he'd agree that if they had Davis and included the supporting cast, there's no way the Kings win that. Of course not. The Mavericks had to go tiny in the second half after Gafford went out. There's no way the Kings win that game if Davis is there. Now, here's the other. Okay, let me flip the script on you. If Davis is there and Gafford doesn't get hurt, do you think Doug Christie ever goes double big? Do you think that move happens? I'm not so sure that it happens. We've got audio from Doug that we're going to hear in a little bit, but I think Doug might have found something. He talked about it after the game. It's something he's thought about. And what I've been thinking about the entire day is, how would that work? How would you be able to incorporate a double big lineup? Because in a sense, the NBA is moving that way. And in fact, the NBA in the second half of the season, as you get closer to the playoffs, the NBA 110% starts moving bigger. They start putting double bigs in if you have the players to do it. And I'm not so sure that the Kings don't have a legit lineup that could cause some problems for other teams. Now, on the back end of that, what's the stylistic change look like? Who's going to lose minutes? First one that comes to mind, Trey Lyles, probably. Second one that comes to mind, Keegan Murray. What if you went double big? Does that mean you go DeMar at the 3, LaVine at the 2, and Monk at the 1? And Keegan and Keon come off the bench along with LaRavia? I don't know. I've had lineups just going through my head all day. Speaking of lineups, we do have some of, not all of them, but some of the new 5-man combinations. Valančiūnas, I don't believe, is included in any of these. I'm still trying to dig those up. But this is something worth monitoring, because you know the Kings are also going to be monitoring this as well. As Doug tries to navigate, and he's doing a decent job of it, not going to lie, doing a decent job. But as they try to navigate what the rotations are going to look like, what is your best 5? What's your best 7? How do you create mismatches against other teams? How do you make other teams have to adjust to you instead of the rather? So a lot is going on, and I know this All-Star break probably can't come soon enough, which is going to allow these guys to take a step back. It's going to allow the coaching staff to take a step back, take a breather, and look at this thing with fresh eyes. Right now, they are not looking at it with fresh eyes. Right now, they are doing what they can to get through these next 2 games in 2 days. Then you get a little tiny break. The Kings actually won't play again for almost an entire week. So a lot to discuss, both on the floor, off the floor. We'll get to that as well. Let's actually listen to Doug for a few minutes, and then we will bring it back in and give you some other thoughts, because I didn't think there was any way this Kings team was winning the game at one point. I know I said they'll clean it up at halftime and they should win, but as soon as Dallas made the run, and to the Kings' credit, they finished 2 of the 4 quarters out pretty well. They finished the overtime out obviously well. So 3 of the 5 periods, they get a passing score rather than a failing score. It's a win. I'll give it to them. But still need room for improvement. This was a Dallas team, and boy, oh boy, how about the Dallas fan base? Lot to talk about with the Dallas fan base as well. Gonna get to your comments in a minute. Here is Doug Christie after last night's game.
A lot here, you guys. Their sacrifice. Guys sacrificed minutes. They stayed locked in. The bench was tremendous with their production and their support. The coaches did a fantastic job working on Kyrie. Malik Monk, incredible offensive rebound and putback. But the one thing that we can't have is 21 turnovers for 36 points. Never, ever is that going to be doable. We just can't do it. I went to the big boys, and they came up huge for us and got us back in the game. Won the rebound in margin, 50-33. Just a lot of good things as we still continue to try to find our flow. Yeah.
Doug, DeMar's performance tonight, season high, 42, just big bucket after big bucket, including the game winner. What can you say about his performance and just, kind of who he is as that kind of a player?
When you see his demeanor, it's how he plays. He's calm. He's relaxed. He's under control. He doesn't get too high. He doesn't get too low. He just stays in the pocket, and he's consistent. I don't worry about him. He's going to have good games. He's going to have mediocre games. But the one thing that he always does is
let me stop it right there and pose this question to you. And I'm going to get to your comments here in a second. What's up, Pressure? What's up, Mars? What's up, Dom Dog? What's up, everybody? Thanks for being here. Thanks for filing late. We had to restart the stream. So share the word if people are looking for it. Would really appreciate that. But Doug saying, I'm not worried about him. Now, the reason I'm bringing it up is we heard the same thing about De'Aaron Fox. We said, I'm not worried about him. You remember Mike Brown's go-tos? Somehow, some way. Possession after possession after possession. By the way, I believe Doug has now won as many, if not more, games than Mike Brown this year. Crazy. Also, Jason Ross put out an amazing stat. We'll put that out there in a second. But does the I'm not worried about him bother anybody? Not saying it bothers me. Just want to get your guys' take. Here's Doug again.
He's going to bring it anytime. And he sacrifices for his teammates. The other night I took him out, said, give me a minute. Malik goes in, put him back in. He hits the bucket. And I think his teammates, they trust him at a really high level. So it's an honor to coach him and a real pleasure to have him.
You mentioned going big there, like last 9 minutes with Domas and JV. What were your impressions of that? It's the first time you tried it, I believe.
Yeah.
What were your thoughts about doing that going into this, and what made you go ahead and decide to try tonight?
Well, I've thought about it. talked to Jay about it. Talked to Dip about it, and LB. And I just, in that moment, things weren't where we wanted them to be. And they were up 10 or 12 and hurting us on the backboard a little bit. And more than anything, like, we were turning the ball over, trying to force the ball inside. So I had thought about different packages, what I want to run when they get in the game. And it might have caught some of us off guard because, obviously it's the first time that we did it. But when I told the coaches, I said, I'm going to go big. And I thought those guys were great. They've worked together for, practically their whole life. So they know each other's game. Looked at some high, low. You help go to the weak side, like some really good things came out of it, and they're huge. They're going to battle on the backboard, and that's really what we needed, is to limit possessions to one attempt per possession.
Love that. Love that. Dirk, if you're out there listening, everybody else that's been asking the question, when are we going to see high-low? You've now seen high-low. Now, will you continue to see high-low? I sure as hell hope so. Not trying to do a Dr. Seuss thing here, by the way. Let's get to you. Let's bring your comments in, and then I'm going to show you exactly what I'm talking about. And the other thing that Doug hit there was they were trying to force the ball inside. If you were with us at halftime, I brought up some pictures to show that. The stat that I was talking about that Jason put out last night, the Kings started the season 3-11. This is credit to Jason Ross. In games decided by 5 points or less, they are now 10-11 in games decided by 5 points or less, winning 7 straight in that category. You know why they're doing it? Last night, not in particular, but free throws. How many times have we come on here and say, man, the Kings were 13 for 13 in the fourth quarter. The Kings were 8 of 8 in the fourth quarter. That helps out a lot. Amazing game for DeMar DeRozan. I don't know if it changes my take about him coming off the bench. I don't think it does, but what could change my take is combinations. If this team decides to play a little different, because many of you have shared the same concern, which is teams getting multiple looks during a possession. Teams getting rebounds. Now, partially that's due to the zone defense when the Kings run it. The other part of that is this team's just not communicating at times. It's not. So we can get into that. Progressive. I knew you were going to be a bit pumped up about this. Ryan, we finally got a backup center. We finally played Sabonis at his true position, power forward. If you weren't with us for postgame 2 nights ago, I said every King is playing out of position. And it's true. I was listening to Windhorse earlier today. And Windy said the Lakers, who coincidentally, Dom Dog is saying are cooked, he doesn't see them making any real type of run through the playoffs because they are playing guys out of position. Now, if they get a matchup that helps them out, it's a little bit different. But I thought that was an interesting take, and that's why I'm bringing this up today. Are the Kings, assuming they get a point guard, and again, not a point guard that's going to play 30 minutes a night, but a guy that can bridge this team over through the lulls that you see when Malik Monk is not on the court. And by the way, lots to talk about with Monkey. We've got the 5-game stats. Monkey, that wasn't right. Lots to talk about with Monk. We have the 5-game stats to look at since De'Aaron has been out of town. I know Progressive is so happy about that. Who do the big boys foul? Or why do the big boys foul so much? Domas nearly fouls out. Last night, JV did foul out. Look, JV, that's just who he is. That's JV. He gets his money's worth. He uses his 6 fouls. There's a reason you get 6 of them. Can he pull back a little bit? Sure. But do you want him to pull back a little bit? I don't know, because that's his game. We've seen him now in 4 games. We've seen JV in 4 games. And I believe in 3 of those 4, you've seen him go vertical. And you've seen a player bounce off of him like it's a trampoline wall. Like it's one of those blow-up inflatables where somebody has the Velcro suit on, except they don't stick to JV. They bounce off of JV. So I don't know how much I want to change that. Now, if you do put him into a position where he's playing more minutes than Sabonis or with Sabonis, then you got to navigate that. The majority of Sabonis's fouls this season, by the way, Sabonis has fouled out 10 times in his career. Anybody that wasn't watching the show yesterday want to take a guess at how many times he's fouled out this year? The reason for that is the pick and roll game. Hands down, it's the pick and roll game, and it's guys that don't know how to play the pick and roll game either yet, or it's just not part of their game, that they're trying to do it with Sabonis, and he's picking up these offensive fouls, which I would say 3/4 of the time are warranted. I would say for every 4 offensive fouls, 3 are right, despite what you sometimes hear on the broadcast or what you might see. I watch every game over. I track the 2-minute reports. I'm glued in. I am locked in to that stuff. So we're going to go to the whiteboard in a minute, and I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about. Way too many turnovers. Lakers have no inside presence. We'll see what Vanderbilt does once he gets back into the fold. I know he is available now for the Lakers. Pressure Z, C-Dog, you're tripping, bro. Lakers finna cook. No one likes you think they're gonna cook? I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. Can Luka stay on the floor? That's the big question. Can Luka stay on the floor? And can LeBron stay on the floor? We haven't hit that yet, by the way. LeBron left the game last night with what ESPN was calling a core issue. You remember Anthony Davis left his game, first game in Dallas, with the same thing. He's like, oh, I'm good. I'm fine. Next thing you know, out a month. So the only reason I bring that up is, does Domas maybe have a shot at getting to the All-Star game? Are we going to reopen that can of worms after we thought it was closed with Kyrie being put in? Real interesting stuff. Real interesting stuff. I mean, I wouldn't mind hearing this in the All-Star game. Yes, it is. It is basic. Progressive. Put some respect on DeMar DeRozan's name. Who started that, by the way? Wasn't it like a rapper? Put some respect on his name, or put some respect on my name. I think it was something like that. Let's see as we keep going through this. You guys talking within yourselves. Yeah. Yikes. Yeah. Look. I don't know. And we're going to read the article. It's a fine line there. You can't go James Dolan and toss people out for the reasons he tossed out, like Charles Oakley, for instance. But also, if you say the magic words, you're probably going to be removed from your seat. And maybe you get a little more leeway if it's not during a time that the general manager is receiving death threats. You could see where Dallas security might be a little bit more on edge. Their ears might be open just a little bit wider for that kind of behavior. But if I'm Dallas fan, yeah, look, I don't want to give my thoughts away on it, but if you pay your money, you're going to see a game, you're entitled to voice your opinion. Now, those rules change a little bit as you get closer to the court. Anybody that sat near the court at a Kings game, at a Stockton Kings game, you know the little piece of paper that's on your chair reminding you of I believe it's the NBA Code of Conduct. You know, John Morant's dad just got booted from a game a couple of nights ago. He was screaming at the ref, "The fix is in. The fix is in." And I believe Memphis had got to the free throw line more than the opponent that night. And I'm thinking, well, maybe he wasn't yelling at the refs. Maybe he was yelling at Ja like, hey, Ja, the fix is in. We just got it from Amazon for your 3-point shot. Ja, the fix is in, brother. It's going to be okay. We're going to get you a 3-point shot. I don't know what happened, but Ja Morant, he's got to keep his family in a box. He's got to keep them away from the building. It just causes too many problems. I don't need to rehash what happened a couple of seasons ago. That was scary stuff. What up, dude? Pressure. Sabonis was getting low-key cooked. Like when Draymond used to use him as a trampoline. Damn, dude. Holy
That's terrible.
crap. Domas trampoline smack. Interesting. Always a Kings killer. Did anybody have problems with the defense there? Look, one thing that Doug Christie needs to improve at, and maybe this is part of the new coaching staff. And when I say new, it kind of is new, because when Doug takes over as head coach, now reassigning duties is in Doug's hands. So if Doug wants to handle something that somebody else was handling, he can take it away from him. You don't think that's going to cause like a little bit of not being on the same page? It is. When you're Jay Triano, who's the associate head coach, and you get jumped to be the coach, it's a little tough. But back to my point, Doug absolutely needs to be better out of timeouts. Has to be better. Talked about it yesterday. I talked about it since the Portland game when Zach LaVine had 2 different quarters that he ended without getting a shot off, not having the clock awareness. And how about last night? Here's the thing that a lot of you were talking about last night, and we're giving DeMar a ton of love as he deserves today. But what happens if the Kings don't win that game? And that shot that DeMar took with 15, 19 seconds left, up 2? No bueno. It's a different story. We thought we were going there. Clay hit the 3. That was not good. It will be funny when Fox comes to sack and the refs rig the fouls for the Spurs. I kind of see that game as a fork in the road game, depending on what the Kings do coming up. I mean, emotionally, if Fox comes into the G1C and it's an important game for the Kings, let's say they're 2 games under 500, because that Spurs game pretty much kicks off the brutal stretch of basketball that we're talking about in March. If you get your backs broken that night, I could see that being a problem. I hope I am 100% wrong. So yeah, that's where we are at with this one. We'll continue listening to Doug in a second. Can we call these guys the Cardiac Kings? Yes, we can. Sometimes. Dude, my pleasure. Thank you, Sam. Thank you, brother. I appreciate the kind words. I absolutely love doing what we're doing. In fact, you know what? I'm going to create, because Haunted Horse is like, you might need to create a new link. I'm going to create a new link. So if you want to call the show, get in here now. All you got to do is hit this link. You can also call old school 916-822-9485. We'll get you in. As we get further and further removed from Charlie's voicemail, the guy is just more of a legend here in this fan base. How could we forget Charlie and his voicemail after the Lakers games? No. Was it after the Lakers games? I think it was after the Detroit game. That was brutal, and things turned around. So let's actually, in a second, go to the whiteboard. I want to show you some stuff from last night, dig into some of the other numbers that jumped off to me. I also want to talk about the elephant in the room. If you have not listened to the audio-only podcast that I put out, you should. I think it's important. I'm going to hit a couple of things on why I did that in a few minutes as well. You don't remember Charlie? You know what? Let me refresh your memory. This was Charlie leaving us a voicemail. So this was this was the night before, by the way. This was the night before Oregon played Ohio State. in the Rose Bowl. This was the night before. The Kings, the season looked like it had gotten away from them. And Charlie left an incredible voicemail for this show. Here's Charlie's voicemail.
Hey, my name's Charlie. I'm a huge Kings fan, and I just wanted to, I guess, discuss my frustrations about the past couple of days. Basically the season as a Kings fan, it's just been a disappointment, but mostly the past couple of days, and just my disappointment and just disgust in the owner of this franchise and just the direction this franchise is heading. I frequently go to Kings games. I've been to a lot. I'm actually a college student, so my parents have been nice enough to kind of get me tickets to the game, so I've been able to go. And it's just been so unfortunate to see them. I mean, they lost 6 in a row now. And I'm just pretty disgusted with this team. I'm pretty close to, I love this team so much, so it's kind of basically, I feel like it's my last straw. And I'm obviously going to support this team, but it's just so hard right now. I'm glad I go to University of Oregon, so I'm glad I have the Ducks at least. They're in the college football playoff, but it's definitely unfortunate times as a Kings fan. So yeah, bye-bye.
That was Charlie. And that was the night before his Ducks got rolled, too. It was just, he encapsulated how so many Kings fans were feeling at the time. And to the Kings' credit, we got a reset button. Here we are with the Kings, a game over 500 somehow. And to be quite honest with you, I'm going to shoot y'all straight. They are playing ugly ass basketball right now. It is not pretty. It's okay in spurts, but it is ugly. And some of you are pointing out the other things we have not hit on. Malik Monk trying to draw a charge with a last-second heave-ho going up. That was crazy. I get it. A lot to talk about. Let's hit the whiteboard really quick. Let's go over a few things, and then we will go back to the chat. So this was in the first half, and I showed this last night during the halftime show with Grant. The reason that I brought it up is this was right when Spencer Dinwiddie checked in the game. Spencer freaking Dinwiddie, who most nights is not doing a ton. But last night had 16 points in the first half. Yes, he was playing to win the game.
To win the game.
So here we are. This was the first rotation that he is in the game. Dallas runs a very, very simple pick and roll between Dinwiddie and Irving right here. Simple pick and roll. What happens? Both Zach LaVine and Keon Ellis go with Kyrie Irving. They didn't communicate. They didn't know what the heck was going on. What happens? Keon realizes, oh crap, Dinwiddie's all alone. Dinwiddie ends up getting the ball, ends up knocking down a three. Keon gets to about right here to defend the three. What happens after that? Well, they go on to Dinwiddie hits 2 threes in a row, I believe it was. And the Mavericks end up having a 35-point first quarter. So communication, just defensively, let's take away whether the Kings are good defenders or bad defenders. We can have that argument all day. There is no defense if you're not communicating. And the Kings, both offensively and defensively, have been struggling with that. So that was the first thing that really jumped off the page to me. Now, here was another play. This was in the second half. And again, the score is 91-90. This was a super important time of the game, a really important time of the game. And let me remind you also that at this point, Kyrie Irving was going off. Earlier in the quarter, the Kings were blitzing Kyrie Irving. They were blitzing him to get the ball out of his hands. Look what happens. Exum sets the screen here. Both Zach LaVine and Keon Ellis go under the screen. If you don't know what going under is, that means instead of Keon coming and fighting through the screen and staying on Kyrie's hip, him and Zach both go this way. Kyrie sees it, steps up, gives him a jab step, steps right back here, ball up, 3-point shot right in the Kings' eyes. So I don't know if I can really judge if this is a good defensive team. Actually, take good out of it. I can't judge if this is an okay defensive team or a bad defensive team, because when you are making awful mental mistakes based around communication, you're going to lose every time. It's like if you're a wrestler, just giving the referee the belt and laying down and letting your opponent count to 3. No communication is exactly that. And it happened too many times in crucial times. Now, the Kings ended up pulling through it. I get it. But once the Kings get to March, once you see Golden State after the break, if you go under screens on Steph Curry, and I know some of you are like, well, you would never go under a screen on Steph Curry. Isn't that the same about Kyrie Irving, especially when he's cooking? So those were a couple of defensive plays that really bugged me. I've got some offense that was good and bad that we're going to go over here in a few minutes. Appreciate you being here, Ryan in Sacktown, with you, talking Kings basketball, getting ready for the Kings and the Pelicans tomorrow night. What are your thoughts on the Kings and the Pelicans tomorrow night? What are your thoughts? Do you think the Kings split? Do you think the Kings win both? I think we all agree the Kings need to win both. Where are you at on that? I'll tell you this. If the Kings win tomorrow night, that guarantees, it is tomorrow night, correct? Yes, I believe it is. If the Kings win tomorrow night, that guarantees you that you will go into the All-Star break above 500. And tomorrow night is probably the game that you are going to see Zion Williamson. Zion's only going to, if they follow the exact same patterns that they have, Zion will only play one of these 2 games. He has not been playing back-to-backs. Must win or both or season's over. I can tell you this, it's a must win for PK. If the Kings don't win both, PK's dropping a $500 gift card. Yes, not 2, not 3, not 4, $500 on Furious Wolf to Bennett. How about that? Kings finna smoke the Pelicans. A sentence I did not think I would be saying on air. All right, Kings finna smoke the Pelicans. There you go. You got me to say it. I hope JB and Sabonis are starting. I really think it's going to depend on matchups, but the flip side of that is Doug talked about when he first took over that he wanted teams to have to adjust to the Kings. And so one night he started Keon Ellis. Who were they playing? Gosh, it's going to escape me. They started Keon Ellis. Oh, it was against the Grizzlies. And it caused the Grizzlies to change their starting lineup. They were going to have Zach Edey in it. 2 for 14 from 3 for the starters. Yeah, I know, Dennis. We're going to talk about the shooting in a minute. Good job by you. Zach LaVine has no court vision. I'm not going to go that far, Cal. I think the court vision is okay. The decision-making is awful. The spacing has been awful as well. And I've got some illustrations of that we can run through. 21 turnovers. Yuck, indeed. Brother Cy up in here. See him dropping some knowledge. I actually like the aggression I see out of Keegan lately when he actually looks to score. just wish he'd do it more. Look, Keegan is never going to be that guy, at least not at this point of his career, where he is going to demand the basketball. So if you want Keegan to be involved offensively off the bat, that's on the coaching staff. Because as we sit today, this team, when they start games, and realize I'm saying start games, not finish games, when they start games, it is an isolation, playmaking based offense. And Keegan can do it sometimes. He's shown that he can, but he's not going to go demand that basketball. It was imperative. Grant said at halftime, you've got to have at least 10 from Keegan Murray. He had 12 in the third quarter. I would love to see him get more involved as well. His strength is just his ability to elevate this year. There's these very small things that have just blown me away. These steps that he's taken that not a lot of people are looking at, because they're so hyper-focused on his three-point shooting, that he's ahead of his time. That I had, at least his timeline, that I put him on when I looked at his progression, he is ahead in more areas than he's behind. So that has been impressive. Let's go to the phones. Oh, Andy's here. Let's get to Andy. What's up today, my man, Andy?
Rhino, what's up, man?
Dude, how you doing?
Doing pretty good. I was just wondering what your opinion on so we're talking about defense, right?
Yeah.
Do you primarily think defense is effort based purely, or do you think defense is more of a combination of obviously skill, but like length, athleticism, communication? I guess communication would fall under the effort umbrella, but like, what do you think defense is like? What is more trying to find the words, but like what contributes to defense more, like talent and stuff like that, or do you think it's more effort based?
Effort and preparation.
Okay, I like that.
Effort, preparation, and there's a third ingredient that can't be quantified. It's just like you get fired up. It gets you going to play defense. Keon Ellis has already said, he said it on the record this year, he's one of those guys. When you have that, and you don't need to have 5 guys like that. In fact, it's very rare that you will have 5 guys like that. But if you have 1 or 2 guys like that, that's like tinder to a fire. It spreads throughout the team.
Yeah, you could see it too in Keon. Like when he gets a big stop, you could tell like he gets fired up from it.
Yep.
Also, since I know you're a big wrestling fan, what's your Mount Rushmore WWE superstars?
How far back are we going? Are we talking like Attitude Era forward? Or are we talking forever?
I'm gonna say forever because I want you could have Hulk Hogan, Andre the Giant, Ultimate Warrior, whoever you want.
Okay, so I'm gonna do my lifetime because I don't really know a ton before then, other than what WWE talks about.
Now before you go, is this your personal Mount Rushmore, or are we talking Mount Rushmore of like influence, most popular, who's done the most for the sport?
Probably my personal.
Okay, that's fair.
What's your Mount Rushmore?
Damn, now that you put me on the spot,
you can't ask that question without having your Mount Rushmore ready. Come on.
All right, I'm gonna say Stone Cold, Undertaker, man.
It's about to pick up here.
Yeah, definitely those two. I kind of want to throw The Rock in there, but I don't know, like, he's like super mainstream now, and I don't know if that affects his legacy in wrestling, but he has done a lot, and he is iconic. I want to throw, I don't know, man. I want to throw Shawn Michaels in there. I want to throw Triple H in there. I don't know about John Cena. I mean, if you want to talk stats, most title wins, stuff like that, him, Ric Flair,
Well, see,
I'm gonna.
that's where you get sidetracked, right?
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think it's got to be. I want everybody's personal,
Okay.
not the ones like, oh, you got to have this person on there like Cena. What's your personal Mount Rushmore? So go ahead. Keep
I'm
going.
gonna say Stone Cold, Undertaker, um, Triple H, John Cena. That's what I'm gonna go with.
Okay.
I hope I'm not missing anyone like super.
Of course you are. We are all going to be missing that. You know, as soon as we put our Rushmores out there, it's like, oh, damn, I forgot about that person.
Yeah, let's hear
It's gonna
yours.
happen. All right. I gotta, this is gonna get some pushback. But I dressed up like him for Halloween a couple of years. My wrestling buddy was him. I gotta have the Ultimate Warrior on there.
Yeah.
I just do. I mean, the theme music, everything about him, dude, was just a different cat. But I loved him. Randy Orton. I love Orton. I think Orton is super underrated. And he's a cool dude. I had the opportunity to hang out with him. One of my roommates from college works for WWE. And so whenever they come to Sacramento, he was still is pretty cool with Randy. And so I got to go to dinner with them one night. So Orton's on there. Man. I'm not, this is going to be controversial. I got to go Will Ospreay. I love Will Ospreay. I think that dude is just a special freaking talent. And then my last one for WWE. See, now I'm leaving so many people out. Who do I really look forward to seeing in WWE? Damn. Okay, I need to hold off on my last one. Everybody else throw yours in there, and then we'll go from there. Any other questions?
No, that's it, bro. I think it was kind of funny because I'm reading the chat and it's like so many people watch WWE. Everybody's throwing their little Mount Rushmores on there. I think that's pretty funny.
It is. See, like, oh my gosh. Now I'm like, oh, I screwed up. Ultimate Warrior. I'm forgetting Macho Man. You guys remember when Macho Man took the Cobra bite? Oh my gosh, dude.
Do you know if Grant watches like WWE at all, or did he used to? Like, would he have a Mount Rushmore?
No, he wouldn't. He does not watch wrestling. In fact, funny Grant story. I'll give you some inside if you don't like that. Phil Mushnick, who is a incredible writer for the New York Times, columnist. Phil Mushnick, I was watching the Vince McMahon documentary, and I had no idea that Phil Mushnick went after the WWE the way he did. And so I reached out to Napes and I'm like, Napes, Napes is familiar with Phil, and Grant showed up in many of Phil's articles. I was like, did you know Mush went after Vince McMahon in the WWE for like 10 years? And he had no idea. So yeah, that's some inside WWE. That's how little I could come on here, and maybe I'll do it someday on a slow day. I could come on here and play, Grant, is this a real wrestler or not a real wrestler, and throw names out there. And I bet I could get more fake ones by him than real ones, for sure.
You should ask him if he knows who DX is.
Yeah. All right, man. Appreciate you.
Yeah, good talking to you, Rhino.
All right, Andy. See, that's what I love about this show. Sometimes we're hardcore into the Kings, then we take a left turn into wrestling. All right, you got to help me with the last one. BG, Rock, Stone Cold, Undertaker, Ultimate Warrior. You know, I really did. I really enjoyed the Stone Cold days. I did. I used to, the Attitude Era, when you had to wait till 9 o'clock to see Monday Night Raw. That was some good stuff. That was some really good stuff. Ask Grant during his open forum show. He'd like that. Hey, you should. You really should. In fact, speaking of that, Tristan, well done by you. Right on cue. Grant's back at 8 o'clock tonight. So ask him. Ask him who his Mount Rushmore is. We'll see what he says. To the phones. We're going back. The OG out or hotline. Al, what is up today, Al?
And I just wanted to chime in a bit. You know, I used to do wrestling. Are we talking Kings again? Is it okay to just do a little bit of more of pro wrestling? Or
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
I used to watch it back in the day. I'm the OG, and it was all territories back in the day, and all the territories had their own promoters, and they all kind of respected each other. If you're interested in the history of, because I always wondered how the hell it was. Then it just exploded because Vince Jr. takes over for his dad. Now his dad Sr. was a nice guy, very well respected. Vince Jr., man, Vince was a businessman, and he saw the big picture, and it was phenomenal how he just a lot of things factored in, and then they came up with WrestleMania and just made it into like a huge global event, because I used to watch it on Friday nights in the Bay Area on a local TV station, Channel 2, and they would film the matches in a studio there. It was crazy, and now huge stadiums filled with people, man, thousands of people. It's just what Vince did. He took it and it blew it up globally. It's just crazy. But I saw that documentary, and I didn't. And I knew that Nape was a Phil Mushnick fan, and I knew he wasn't in pro wrestling. But yeah, I had no idea either that he had a vendetta against Vince. I mean,
and it looks like he was right, Al. It looks like he was
but
right.
Brian, help me out here. I mean, the pro wrestling, Vince will be the first one to tell you we're an entertainment, okay? Vince will be the first to tell you it's scripted. This is entertainment. He'll be the first one to admit it. So these guys doing steroids as opposed to professional athletes who are playing in other sports that are competitive and supposed to be legitimate. Help me understand this. But why is it? I mean, I remember roids in bodybuilding when Arnold was, winning, Mr. World, Mr. Universe, and they were all roiding. If you watch a documentary, watch Pumping Iron, about the bodybuilding, they're all openly juicing. But why did the feds go after the federation for steroids when no one's really, unless you're stupid, no one's really betting on it? I mean, do you understand what I'm saying? Or does that make sense?
Wow, there's actually books that take bets on wrestling events, believe it or not.
Well, but you know what I mean?
I
as
got
far
you.
as
No, I 100% got
the
you.
league. Well, I'll leave that to the people who, if they want to bet on, they're the people who bet on the coin toss at the Super Bowl and, how long the song's going to go. But I just don't see how it compares, the bodybuilding and professional wrestling, which is really entertainment, and as opposed to like professional sports, football, basketball, and baseball. I just don't. But yeah, back in the day, there's a good book if you want to read it. I always wondered how it all just blew up. Death of the Territories.
Yeah.
And have you heard of that?
I have not heard about that.
Yeah. If you get a chance and you like your history, Adam, he might have heard of it. It was just a great read. Is it really how it came to fruition when Vince came up with, WrestleMania, the whole event, and he was cutthroat, man. His dad was too nice, but Vince, man, he would, territories, everybody respected themselves. In the Bay Area, Roy Shire was a promoter in the Bay Area when I was watching it as a kid. And you had Peter Mavia, who was actually the Rock's grandfather. And you had some guy, Haystack Cahoon, Ernie Ladd, and who played football for the Chiefs. And it was just what Vince did with it. And then he had the advent of cable TV came in, and that's how it became a national, product. And that's how the territories they couldn't hold up. They were not going to be able to hold up. It went crazy. It went global, and now it's just off the charts. But anyway, it was just wanted to talk to you about that, and have a good day, man. I'm still listening. Take care.
Good job, Al. Good job. Yeah, the territories, that was massive back in the day. That was wrestling, as Al said. And then for those not familiar with it, I don't want to spoil the Vince stuff, but I mean, it's common knowledge now. It's not really the documentary. So what happened was he bought his dad's business, and his dad didn't think that Vince was going to be able to buy it. And he did. And in order to make the payment to his dad, the balloon payment, he blew up the territories. Like, he broke all these unwritten, these were handshake agreements, right? Like, if there's ever a business that it's like, protect the business and people abide by these unwritten ethical codes, their social norms, they're not in rule books. They're all passed down from generation to generation. And Vince just came and crapped all over it. And he blew everybody's business up. And that's how he was able to get popular. He screwed everybody else over. And that's how he got the money to end up going national, pay his dad, and the rest is history. Al is spot on. It's incredible. By the way, Cal, you obviously were not here for the trade deadline. This was our sound.
Live in Sacramento, Sacramento, there I go.
See, Cal, we go deep, man. Yeah, that was a hell of a promo by Rocky. Hell of a promo. Dude, wrestling is popping the chat right now. Are we going to do this show? I mean, we can do this show. I don't mind entertaining it. We're certainly going to still talk Kings. But let's see. Christian and Edge against the Hardys. Yes, that was a magical moment. I had the opportunity to meet Jeff Hardy one time. Cool dude. Yeah, I couldn't find, I was trying to be funny, so I'm like, I'll use the draft sound and then attach something to it. So yeah, so the draft sound with the Rock Sacramento song. XFL, that was crazy for sure. Bro, just yapping. Okay, Pressure, you're kind of in your own world. Rack him, indeed. What's my take on Meltzer? First off, that dude's jacked, number one. Number two, I like Meltzer. I don't have an issue with Meltzer and what he does. I mean, in some ways, if there is no, go with me here. If there is no Dave Meltzer, then there's no reality-based storylines. Kayfabe is still in effect, where the Undertaker is going to be walking through the airport at 0.00001 miles per hour with his top hat and trench coat on. That's the way those dudes were living. So it's definitely changed. There's definitely no wrestlers in Hollywood for the most part. Y'all know that Hulk Hogan got fired from the WWE for doing the Rocky movie. But then he was so popular from the Rocky movie that Vince had no choice but to bring him back. So back to it with Meltzer and what he does. I like it. I think he does a good job. He's a legend. I mean, he's obviously well-sourced and incredibly vetted with his information. A lot of people subscribe to that newsletter. And he was doing that before the internet. He was mailing out 20,000 word newsletters to people. And he had a long list of people that were buying them. Dude, Vince let those guys. Oh, he did. No doubt. Vince, look, if there was ever like a turn your head like MLB did to the steroids era, Vince did that with wrestlers all the time. And if you tried to go against the grain with Vince and you said the U word, union, you would just get buried. You just get fired. TLCs, yes. Of course, Haunted Horse bets them. You're being generous. 50 cents, Tristan? It's a little expensive for his taste. Mushnick was after Vince for at least 20 years, and I get it now if any of that's true. You know, that whole I don't want to get too far in the weeds here, but the whole Ring Boys thing, right? That's all like back in court now. That's crazy, right? Best boxing intro of all time was Let's Get Ready to Rumble intro on Tupac, Hit 'Em Up. Okay. Not familiar with it. Alex Wright, know the name. Not coming to mind, though. News to some of you. Here we go. Like wrestler, Olympic wrestling. Okay. Very good. I think Grant likes Olympic wrestling. All right. Why would Grant like it? What about Olympic wrestling makes you think that Grant would like it? Just tell me, Tristan. It's not the headgear. It's not the cauliflower ear. Certainly not the singlets. What do you think it would be, Tristan? Saturday Night Live. Yep, that was a good one. What's Grant's rant about them? I have no idea. You can ask him. Easier question. Who had the best wrestling promos? I put it in the chat. I think I think it's got to be Punk and Rock. How can you go either or any other way? Because Punk, again, trailblazer when it comes to blurring the lines between real life and kayfabe. And then Rock, like, here's the thing about The Rock, though. Like, The Rock had his own like writer. The Rock like had his own producer, and I know those guys have, or wrestlers when they do matches, they have a quote unquote a producer, but like The Rock got some extra treatment for sure. But some of the stuff, like the whole, you remember the Jonathan Coachman in the cow promo that Rock did? It was one of Coachman's like first backstage interviews, and The Rock just freaking roasted him. Danielson, Omega, Michaels, and Angle. So there's some names that we had not heard. Very interesting stuff. Damn, I didn't think we were going to take this left turn. I'm here for it, if that's what we're doing. The Sabonis Seder? Okay, sure. Sea-Dog, big facts, but Rocky Balboa was underrated. I've never seen a Rocky movie. Couldn't tell you. Grant likes the movie Vision Quest. Okay, so I'm trying to pick up on what you guys are doing. You know, like you're kind of doing the clone stuff. You're going in between. You've got the inside jokes, and I respect it. And I have a very good understanding of how all that works, because I've been one for 25 years. But I'm not following some of them. I will try to do better. That's probably on me. No, I have not seen Rocky yet. In fact, John, thank you very much for the transition. We are still doing this. If you are new to the channel, in March, we are going to be doing a bracket of the 32 best sports movies. We'll have 16 that are based off of fiction, 16 that are nonfiction. And we're going to bet them, or not going to bet them. Now you got me thinking about Haunted Horse. We are going to vote them out, and we are going to figure out what is the best sports movie of all time. So if you got suggestions, keep putting them in the chat. I'm going to be putting the brackets together. Dude, you got to watch all the Rocky movies. You would be shocked. Some of the stuff I've seen and I haven't seen. Yes, I've got some work to do. Damn, dude, you're still here, Jay. What's up, man? Remember when Roy D. Mercer prank called Bill Goldberg? I do not. Which player on the Kings would be a good WWE wrestler character? Malik Monk, 100%. Malik Monk. I'm going Malik all day. He's got the charisma. He talks enough crap. He'd be scrappy. Now, Malik would probably be like a cruiserweight, though. He would not be, well, I don't know. Could Malik? I can see Malik. See, Malik could pull off like an a-hole character, but he could also pull off like a badass like Swerve Strickland character as well. The Rock is a far left Looney Tunes character. He fits in Hollywood. Well, he opened up a lot of doors in Hollywood. I love MJF. Dude, that guy is funny. MJF is really, really funny. I am with you there. Bruh, not familiar with Tupac from Sacktown, the Bay Area, and back down. Well, yeah, it's California Love, right? Okay, another thing. Not a big music guy here because I'm always doing so much work on the other side of music, which is this talk. But I am familiar with some stuff. AWA, yes, I know that. So okay, we're having a good time. We're getting to it here on the show. If you guys want to take the show anyway, I guess it is that kind of day. We can do it. I still have King stuff to get to. If you get a chance to see Mick Foley on Hell in a Cell tour, you best watch that match. Seen the match a million times. In fact, Adam got some type of I'm probably breaking confidentiality, but somebody got Adam one of those cameos, and Mick Foley was the one that did it. And Mick did I think 3, 4, 5 minutes. It was pretty funny. He was hitting all the lines, doing all that stuff. I think he would be a technician like the 1, 2, 3 kid. Okay, so you guys are saying Monk. Valančiūnas? No, it's Monk. It is 100% Monk, in my opinion. So who you guys taking? Who do you think it is? Put it in the chat. Who would be the Kings' main eventer as a wrestler? Who you got? Let's listen to the other part of Doug Christie after last night's game. We're going to go back to the board in a second. And I also want to address the elephant in the room. We'll get to it here in a few minutes. Doug Christie again last night.
Attempted, and they made a couple buckets and think, woe is me, and get out of it. I want to give it the proper opportunity. I got to the point where I said, okay, this is something that I've thought about, and I think that this is probably the opportunity. Let's see how we work and give it a shot. And what I didn't want to do is attempt it. And they made a couple buckets and think, woe is me, and get out of it. I want to give it the proper opportunity. And to their credit, all of the guys who were on the floor, but especially those two, they worked extremely hard, communicated at a high level, and they went in and did their job.
You mentioned the turnovers and the points off turnovers, 36-15. It's been a problem. How are you trying to work through that? Obviously, you're working in new pieces, and trying to learn how to play together, but just stylistically, is this team different than the team you had a week or so ago?
Absolutely. Yeah. It's definitely a different team, but not only even looking at the different pieces, when you plug pieces in like that, it changes the dynamic of everything.
I got to break in. My girl Gail's here. What's up, Gail? How are you? Hope you're well. Thanks for tuning in. Back to Doug.
And if you looked at our turnovers, they're not selfish turnovers. Guys are trying to hit the pocket. Guys are trying to feed the post. Guys are trying to help each other. And we just have to realize, if I'm trying to feed the post and it's getting deflected, it probably means that it's not there. Let's move the ball. A lot of times with Domas, and we kind of did it in Boston when we went there, we didn't try to force the post. They switched. He went to the dunker. And his advantage is on the backboard. If you can get it to him, get it to him. Otherwise, just play the game. Everybody settle down. Domas, clean it all up and punish them that way. And that's what it took both of them to kind of figure that out tonight. Yeah.
And I guess lastly, just, to win, back-to-back games here, and you got, a couple more before the All-Star break. How critical is it for you and good for you guys to maybe try to get on a roll here?
Yeah, it's, every game we've talked about it. It's not an elephant in the room. Everyone understands that this is all judged by winning. We need to win ball games, put ourselves in a really good position coming out of the All-Star break. We'll have a couple of days to get a couple practices in, try to work on some things. And I think after a trade deadline like we all experienced, there's a decompression that needs to happen too. Step away for a second, guys, and let life happen for you a little bit. Love your families, do your thing. And when we come back, let's hit the ground running. And I think that that's the message that I've imparted to them and what I will continue to tell them. When we come back, it's a race to the finish line.
Doug is way more balanced than Mike Brown was. I got to give him that. Doug does get the balance correct. I like that. I liked what he said about practice time. I think that matters. But before any of that, there is some things I need to address in the chat. But the first is this. Dennis, who are your league sources? I'm not trying to laugh at you, brother. League sources tell you? It's so funny, man. It's so funny. Dennis, I'm not getting on you. That's cool. Yeah, we talked about it last night that Alex was going to be making a U-turn from Indiana to LA after the trade got rescinded. But per league sources is just one of, and I've done it too, but some of the people on X, like I put out a tweet about this guy that was reporting the Spurs trade, and it was completely wrong. The only thing that was right was De'Aaron Fox was going to the Spurs, and it got 300,000 views because he just guessed. He put something out. He put NBA at the end of his Twitter handle. So per league sources is a very dangerous phrase these days because it's so ambiguous. But people that are like doing it legitimately, it's the right thing to do depending on who the source is. So interesting stuff there. Flores trying to push my button saying Rudy is not the movie. We'll see. We'll vote on it. I might be the only vote for Rudy, but I am really leaning towards Rudy being a number 1 seed. I don't know how Rudy isn't a 1 seed. Is that the Rhino biased? Because I'm creating the bracket. I've got some bias. I think Rudy's got to be a 1. Al went to WrestleMania. Very cool. How were your seats, Al? Friday Night Lights getting some votes. Monk is crazy. Okay, Swerve. Yeah, there we go. Swerve Strickland. Love that movie. It's a great movie. It's an incredible movie. Love and Basketball. DeMar was wearing a Love and Basketball shirt earlier this season. Thought that was cool. Anybody a fan of this guy?
Say his name and he appears.
He's caught a little bit of fire. I know Adam loves that guy. Joe Hendry. Not on any Mount Rushmores yet. I don't know. I think Joe's got to tweak his character a little bit. Raging Bull. Okay. Rudy Gay had a sports movie. Don't disrespect Rudy like that. Come on. Don't disrespect Rudy. Okay. Fair enough. Appreciate that. Juana Man. I don't know that one makes the cut. I don't know that Juana Man is making the cut. Now, 61 very well make the cut. I could see 61 making the cut. It's really hard to cut it down when you think about it. Like Dennis is talking about Hoosiers, remember the Titans. And then you get into, okay, so this is something that came up before. I don't think we can go documentaries. It just muddies the water too much. Documentaries muddies the water way too much. What do you think about them appealing? I think it is an incredibly weird situation. I don't know. So for those that don't, I've hinted at it. This is called the King's Court. Obviously, I had a life before this, a profession before this. It was in the legal realm. If you haven't picked up on court, etc., I don't see the legal basis. And I know it's not necessarily a legal matter, but these things are tied to arbitration and unions. I don't know how you are going to be able to try to appeal a doctor's opinion without going after the doctor's credibility. And that is a slippery slope. If you're a doctor for the LA Lakers, why would you? And they knew, Grant laid this out. It was a great point last night. They knew there were some issues there. They had done their due diligence. So what's in it for the Lakers doctor to say, yeah, no, he's not passing physical if they want the guy? It just doesn't make sense. And now you're appealing it. Now the Lakers didn't play Dalton Connect last night. It's kind of unprecedented, to be honest with you. I'm not sure how that's going to work out. And Dalton Connect, what does that do for him upstairs mentally? I think that makes things a little bit weird. We want you, we didn't want you. And I get what you're selling to him. Look, we had an opportunity to improve the team. Doesn't mean that we don't want you, Dennis. But to my understanding, then any framework or verbiage being put into the trade has to be put in there. Well, Dennis, you can't individualize verbiage. Now, what happened in this case was they did the deal so close to the deadline that there is no room. There's like zero room for ambiguity. There's no room to amend the deal because the deadline is over. Basically, okay, this isn't breaking news. I'm sure some of you have heard this, but the Valančiūnas deal with Sacramento, that thing was, the framework was there. It was at the finish line and basically agreed to, just not announced and through the league office for days before the deadline. So that is how most trades work. Very rarely do you run into this situation. And even in this situation, which was a little bit more last minute, it was still very close to where you cannot amend things. So yes, it's not one of those deals where, hey, I got it in before the buzzer, which means I have full rights that I had before the deadline to make a change, to do this. No, everything has to go exactly to T per. And remember, these things are worked out both by the league and the Players Association. So most of the rules that govern how these trades go down, unless you are waiving a physical, it's going to go by the same rules. It's not like in my world before, what's called a SAMR. We call them a SAMR for short. In legal, we always shorten things. A settlement agreement and mutual release. A settlement agreement and mutual release, you can put whatever the hell you want in that settlement agreement. Now, you're bound by the probate code, you're bound by California law, but you can mix and match and you can do whatever you want in that's going to satisfy both parties. And ultimately, you get it approved by the court as well. So you have to be cognizant, again, of the laws. You can't put anything illegal in there, but it's whatever the two parties are willing to agree to. In a trade case, there's frameworks that you cannot work around. But again, like if you're buying a house, you can waive the inspection, you can waive the physical. The Lakers did not do that. But the appeal of the doctor, to me, is just what's out there and bizarre. It's unprecedented. I don't know that I have seen it before. Adam Silver will always love up on the Lakers, and LeBron, like he is searching for a dance partner on Valentine's Day. David Stern, honestly, probably vetoes that trade. If we're being real about it, David Stern vetoes that Luka trade. Or at least that trade is put on the back burner while David Stern does some due diligence on how that came together. Now, as for Adam Silver on the dance floor, first off, not really an image I want to think of. I don't. I'm sorry. And second off, I mean, can you imagine how awkward it'd be dancing with Adam Silver?
Of the physical, grinding.
What? You don't like to? Why don't you like to dance, Adam?
Of the physical, grinding.
Now, are you talking about like the grinding as in dancing, or are you talking about your sonars rubbing up against the other people dancing around you? Can you clarify that, Adam?
Of the physical, grinding.
Adam, you didn't answer my question. Are you talking about your sonars hitting and grinding other people, or are you talking about you and your dance partner? Can you answer that, Adam?
I want to let it marinate a bit.
He's going to marinate on it. So there you go. All right. All right. Rhino facts in David's turn. Yeah, David was one of a kind. Adam Silver is awful. Look, here's the problem with Adam Silver. Adam Silver doesn't take a side. Adam Silver came into the league as commissioner. Okay. Came in as commissioner and had a slam dunk decision to make. A first decision that you couldn't have made any other way. And that was banning Donald Sterling, excuse me. So he hits the ground with this momentum and all this support. You did the right thing. And then he kind of becomes this puppet that doesn't really give you any real answers, which if you're meeting with him one-on-one, he's going to tell you what you want to hear if the other side isn't present. And then he goes and meets with the other side. And he tells them what they want to hear. He's just not the guy, to me, that is willing to put his foot down and say, this is a problem, let's address it. Like, think about this. He rolled out the red freaking carpet last year. He pleaded with the NBA players, please, guys, please. Like, I know I did this 5 years in a row, but this year it's different. We're going to have the All-Star game inside of a football stadium. Like, this is going to be the biggest game ever. We're going to have the most eyeballs on us. We're going to integrate the WNBA into it. WNBA is hot right now. We're going to have the shooting contest with Sabrina and Steph. And by the way, we're going to have an LED court, bro. Yes, an LED court, bro. So promise me, guys, promise me that you're going to go out there and play a real game. That, you know what? You don't even need to play a real game. Just go out there and play hard, okay? Can you just maybe play a little bit of defense? This All-Star game is going to put us back on the map. And what happens? The All-Stars couldn't have cared less. In fact, they did the absolute opposite, which triggered this.
And to the Eastern Conference All-Stars, you scored the most points. Well, congratulations.
If you watch the video of it, by the way, when you watch the video of it, the Eastern Conference All-Stars, when he says that, they're looking up at the scoreboard. They're just like, when he says you scored the most points, they're like, huh. We scored the most points. They weren't even paying attention to it. And so what's Adam Silver do? He says, yo, refs, here's what we're going to do. Don't call any fouls. Let's screw the players over. Let's make them play physical, which has led to its own issues here and there, which we know about. So anyways, Adam Silver, one of a kind. Now, as for last night, Doug was talking about some things that I thought were pretty important because it was all things that we saw with our eyes. Like, if you have half a brain that understands basketball, you get this Kings offense looks clunky. It looks like they are trying to force a square peg in a round hole at times. It's like they light up if they see what they want from the scouting report. Like in this instance, you got the switch. You have Keegan Murray guarded by Kyrie Irving, right? And so instead of letting him repost and just passing it to Domas really quick, Keon taking a quick step, getting the ball back, and then having a better angle, because let's be real about it. Let's say that number 20 right here is not up in Keon's grill, right? Let's say that he's even off a little bit more than that. This is a very difficult, learn how to talk, Ryan. This is a difficult angle to make this pass. In fact, I would argue with the length of guys in the NBA, that is nearly an impossible pass to make. Now, there was one that got through last night that we're going to look at in a second, but these were the decisions last night. And it's not a one-night thing. We've seen turnovers go up the last 5 games, big time. But Keon was on his tippy toes, and to a point, he was going this way. When he was making this pass, he was headed backwards. What happens? It's an absolutely awful pass that kind of goes on this track. It gets tipped. It goes over here. Ball out of bounds. Turnover by the Kings. And there were so many more examples of this. Let's look at a couple more. The spacing last night caused so many issues. And if I'm going to give one criticism so far of seeing Zach LaVine in Sacramento, it's his decision making with the basketball. Take away the transition game. I think Zach's been pretty good in transition. His decision making in the half court has been terrible. So you can chalk it up to, getting to play with players, knowing their spots. You need practice time. I don't care who you are. If you're in the NBA right now and you're a veteran like Zach LaVine and you've been an all-star, you can have 1 million hours of playing time or 1 million hours of practice time together, and no, this is not enough space to make a pass. I mean, look at where Gafford is at right here. Gafford's arm is here and right here, basically touching Sabonis. Zach tried to do a bounce pass right here, and it was a very, very bad decision. It was an awful decision, and it wasn't the only bad decision we saw from him that night. In fact, the spacing was off all night. Zach dribbled in. As we pull this one up, Zach set a pick for Sabonis. This was a pick and roll. And where Zach's at right now, this was after the pick. This was not actually the pick and roll play. The pick got set out here. So Zach set a screen right here. Sabonis comes off the screen to there. What do you usually do in that sense? You usually clear out. So in a normal time, Zach's usually going to clear out and let Sabonis go to work ISO'd right here on Kyrie Irving. Zach does not do that. In fact, Zach comes up, he comes down here, he goes back here, and then he comes right back to this spot. So again, the spacing was bad. It was awkward. And I'm not sure if it's partially because Zach is just not feeling comfortable with this team. I don't know if he's being asked to do things that really aren't in his repertoire. But this was bad. And guess what it did? It caused another turnover. Zach was credited for like 3 turnovers in the first half. He was more responsible. He was responsible for more like, I want to say 5 or 6 when I rewatched the game, between grenades that were thrown by Zach or just spacing issues where guys were forced in to bad shots because Zach brought a second defender in their neighborhood. All right, let's go to the good. This is good. This was really good. This is actually a very hard angle to make the pass in the NBA, but it's much. Yes, he did. He absolutely did. He had. I showed one to start this off. I showed one, Ron, to start this off. If you missed the first part of the whiteboard, I showed one where Keon absolutely forced the ball to Keegan Murray because there was a mismatch. Had to get the ball in that second when there were other answers there. So this was in the second half. This was much better. This is exactly what you want. What Valančiūnas did was he kind of came down and then he came back and he sealed this guy off right here. Now, this is still a very difficult pass to make. I was surprised that Keon got it through, but he did. He threw it more towards Valančiūnas's right shoulder. It gets through. Is it going to get through every night? No, it's not. It's not going to get through every night. In some cases, you want to bring it down to Monk and then just let Monk throw it right there because you're still going to have the advantage. But this was an example of the Kings going with the double bigs, and I know that Sabonis isn't on the floor yet, but this muddied things up. Valančiūnas takes up a lot of space in the lane. Last night, we got a question about, well, why didn't they go to Isaac Jones when Valančiūnas fouled out? Because Isaac Jones doesn't take up that much space. Isaac Jones doesn't demand that much respect, and he's not at the point with his game where he's going to understand the floor. If you want to give credit to a guy that's come in and hit the ground running, it's number 17. That guy has hit the ground running, and that to me speaks to how high of a basketball IQ that Valančiūnas has. So that was a really good play, but again, I don't know if Keon's always going to get that pass through, but that is exactly what you want to see from the Kings. Now, when the Kings went double big, this, Progressive, where you at? Progressive, I pulled this just for you. Some of you have been screaming for this all season. It is something that we have seen in past seasons with Keegan Murray, Sabonis, and Keegan Murray. It's what's called high-low action. What high-low action is when you get a switch that you want, and you've got a guy up top, and you've got your big man or the mismatch down low, and you are lobbing the ball over the top. So they don't usually see the defense. It's a quick swing usually from DeMar back to Sabonis, because what happens is Valančiūnas starts off posting here. DeMar's going to be looking for Valančiūnas. Not there. You come back to Sabonis, and then Valančiūnas seals this guy off. He gets him in front of him, so the pass can come right here, and it's an easy bucket right there. High-low is an issue for a lot of teams, and I'm telling you, the Kings have a mismatch with high-lows, even when Valančiūnas isn't on the floor. Doug Christie talked about it just a few minutes ago. I was so excited to see high-low action last night. So excited. It is something that has to continue. It is something that puts pressure on the defense. It makes the defense think. Something the Kings had not done the past couple games consistently. Double bigs, absolutely. Progressive. The high-low is why you run double bigs, especially when you have two bigs that are this skilled, this fundamental, and this smart when it comes to basketball. They know the right times to do high-low. They know the right times that they can get the seal-offs and the mismatches that they want. And here's the more important part. They also know when to not force it. Something that Ron brought up, something we saw Zach do a couple of times, something we saw Keon do a couple of times. My biggest gripe with this Kings team the last 5 games is they have been passing up very, very good shots for only good to mediocre to bad shots. That's my gripe with them. Especially if you're somebody like Sabonis, you're somebody like Keon Ellis. Trey Lyles has done it a couple times where he has been wide open in the corner and he passes that shot up. Let me ask you this. How big of a threat is Trey Lyles to drive the basketball? Are you worried Let's say you're not a Kings fan. Let's say you're a Mavericks fan. Let's say you're a Mavericks coach and you're doing the scout on Trey Lyles. What's the one thing you want to do to Trey Lyles on defense? You want to run him off the three-point line. Guys are playing that game for the other team. Trey Lyles ran himself off the three-point line last night. He had an open look, and he passed it up to try to drive. That is what you want. Okay, last look of last night that we're going to get into. 105-102. This was by far the Kings' best possession. And the reason I bring this up is this action is called a pistol action. Now, what you don't know is where it started was DeMar down here a little bit more. So DeMar brought the ball up, and DeMar started posting himself up right about here. As he comes around, they call this pistol because, look, it looks like a pistol. But now that you have two bigs on the floor, it's like, what the hell do we do? Like, what do we do defensively? Because guess what? Sabonis, he's a threat from that corner. But this is where I want the basketball IQ for this team to improve. Sabonis has a big on him, correct? Sabonis has the second biggest guy on him on the Mavericks that's on the floor right now. Valančiūnas probably has the biggest guy on him, which means if Sabonis is in the corner, where is Sabonis's defender going to be? He's going to be right here looking at man and ball, which also means you are allowing the two biggest men to surround Valančiūnas. What you want to do here as we clean the board up a little bit out of this pistol action, and this is where I'm not even putting it on the new guys. These are two guys that have played together for a really long time and know what they're doing. But here's what you want to do. Keon Ellis is your better three-point shooter. I know the stats say Sabonis is, but just for a mismatch purpose, if you're in pistol action like this right now, I need these two guys to switch spots, which is a really easy thing to do. You just rotate down. What happens then if you have Keon Ellis here in the corner? That now means you're dragging Kyrie on the other side of Valančiūnas as opposed to a big man. Bring Sabonis up to that other spot that we're talking about. And now this big man that's on Valančiūnas, he's up here guarding Sabonis when you've got Kyrie on the other side of Valančiūnas. So it's the little stuff like that. That sure, practice time is going to be big, but these are guys that between Keon and Sabonis knowing each other's spots, and by the way, this is much more of a three-point spot for Sabonis up here. Sabonis is way better from the three-point line when he's here and he's here. The stats bear it out. Keon is extremely effective from the corner. So get him down there. Simple way to just switch spots. That's just simple motion. I guess my point is there's a lot of stagnicity going on with this offense. They need to move a little bit more. And just a very simple movement like that, these two guys switching places, completely changes the matchup for Valančiūnas because now you've got the big man up here and Kyrie Irving's going to be down here on the other side of Valančiūnas, which makes a pass there possibly a little bit more realistic. So there you go. There is the whiteboard for the Dallas Mavericks game. Let me know what you thought of what I saw. Let me know if you saw anything else. The good news about this stuff is it can be cleaned up. It can be cleaned up. These are not mistakes that it's like, okay, we're panicking a little bit. This stuff can be cleaned up. It is fairly simple to get some of it fixed. Now, the Zach LaVine stuff, that worries me a little bit. The decision-making makes me say even more, you have got to have a point guard. You got to have a point guard somewhere in the rotation with Zach LaVine. It is a must. But regardless, the Kings pull it off last night. And really, the big story coming out of this one is what are the Kings going to do going forward with the double bigs? I don't think I don't think, in my opinion, that Doug Christie is married to any starting lineup. Now, the thing that really pushes me to like, you need to have Keon in that starting lineup is it's a second ball handler that I think can be a little bit more, actually can be more effective on the defensive end. And basically what I'm saying is having Keon in that starting lineup, like if you have DeMar in that starting lineup, you have a very limited pool of things you can do defensively on the perimeter. If you have Keon in the starting lineup, then you have a much bigger landscape of options on what you can do on the fly defensively. But I'm not sure that taking DeMar out is the right thing. I guess whether it's this off season, whether it's while Doug is interim coach, at some point we have to address, or this front office needs to address, the big elephant in the room, which is this: every king in your starting lineup right now is playing out of position. Every single one. Sabonis should be at 4. Keegan should be at 3. Monk should be, I don't know where Monk should be. He's in between a 1 and a 2. DeMar DeRozan, he's more of a 2 than he is a 3, right? So the Kings have some issues, and the only way that you can kind of fix those issues is balancing out the holes in the Swiss cheese, filling them in, making sure you get the right players that allow your best players to play in their best positions, in their proper positions. So I think it's going to be really interesting what the Kings end up doing coming out of this. Is it going to look different at all after the break? And when I say different, maybe it's not a different starting lineup, but the rotations of players that we see together. In fact, here's some of the rotations really quick. We'll put those up that Basketball Reference has right now. We'll go to some of your comments then. But we've got 4 sets of 5-man rotations that Doug has played. There's more than this. They're just not updated yet because of last night, because Valančiūnas has not been included in some of those. But that's what they look like for right now. John, appreciate it. Thank you very much. Believe it or not, I put a lot of time. When I say I rewatch every game, I rewatch every game. I'm looking at the small stuff. So thank you. Does not go unheard. Really means a lot to hear that. Doug's not married to that lineup because Jackie makes sure he's not married to anything but her.
Great success.
Damn. This show is getting clonish. Holy crap. Ian, you're going to get me in trouble, man. Holy crap. Ian's sitting there at his desk right now, or maybe he got off work early, or he's driving in the car, shouldn't have his phone in the hand. You know what Ian's saying?
Just want to say from the bottom of my heart, I'd like to take this chance to apologize to absolutely nobody.
Ian's like, I nailed it. Nailed it. Starting 5 is the starting 5. We'll see. But the rotation, he is not. Bingo. That's what I'm saying. White bread is greater than the whiteboard. Huh. Interesting. Interesting. Haunted horse. Haunted horse. If you could do anything with the rest of your day, what would it be?
Let's go see a porno.
Horse? Dude, you got to keep it clean. I just gave Ian a warning, my man. Come on, horse. I ain't got time. It ain't in my schedule.
I don't have time to have a bad time. It isn't on my schedule.
Whiteboard goes hard. Yes, it does. Grant's rant was epic last night. Yeah, he went off on Zach. He had some fun with that. We're trying to have some more fun with you guys. Grant enjoys the rants, definitely enjoys goofing here and there. I never thought the Kings were a team that were a great passing team to begin with. I see where you're going with that, Donald. They want to be. That's the thing. They want to be a really good passing team. Yeah, I think a few times last night also. Yeah, you guys are talking in between. I see that most of the time the Kings have problems getting Sabonis the ball in the post. It's a clear mismatch, but they can't pass inside. I don't know why. It's because they're not moving. There is a fine line when it comes to keeping and losing a mismatch. If you move the wrong way or you wait too long, you can give your opponent the opportunity to kind of reset. They can switch back and that mismatch is gone. But there's also a very fine line in taking advantage of that mismatch. If you panic and you go too quick to try to get it there, you'll turn the ball over and you won't even get a match because it's turned over. But just with a tiny bit of movement, when I say tiny bit of movement, like, you know, those hockey passes, as they call them now in the NBA, where the ball barely touches your hand and you shove it right back at the other person, just a hockey pass like that, back and forth, just really quick, that can give the big enough time to reposition enough to give you a better angle. So when I say it's the small things, it's the small things that the Kings need to do and can do. That's why I'm not super alarmed. Now, the funkiness of Levine, my eye is on that. Not alarmed, but my eye is on it. It's been really weird. I don't know how else to put it. No, Zach is not going to the G League, but Devin Carter is, just as I said he should have. I think it was about a week and a half ago. He needs time down there. It's not working. You can't. For those that missed that conversation, by the way, you were looking at the stats over the last 5 games for this team. Let me move some of these for you so you can get a better idea. Gives you an idea of what these guys are doing. But Devin got, to a degree, exposed for his lack of ball handling on film. It does not take long for the NBA to catch up and the scouts to identify these little things that in actuality can be really big things for young players. And with Devin, it was his inability really to bring the ball up effectively or get the Kings into their offense. So teams started, picking him up 3/4 court. Teams started picking him up full court, and it completely threw things off at times for the Kings. So when you get to that point with Devin, very similar. The Kings got to this point last year with Colby Jones, and I don't want to compare the two of them. I'm just comparing the situation. Colby had to go back to Stockton. Devin needs time in Stockton to get that figured out. And the ball handling is not going to get resolved this year. It's not. That's an off-season thing. That's a 2 to 3 month regimented, you work on it every day kind of thing for Devin Carter. If there's one thing this summer, like if I had to, and you know what? I'm going to put this question to all of you. Is there a player, you can pick any player that's a member of the core of this team. What do you feel the one thing is that player needs to work on? I will tell you mine for Devin Carter's. If he could only work on one thing this summer, it is his ball handling. Hands down. For 2 reasons. It needs a lot of work. And the second reason is it will help the Kings out tremendously. You need his ball handling more than you need his 3-point shot. If he can handle the ball, then he can stay on the court, which then allows him to play defense. And that's what was getting him his minutes before. We haven't seen, the high-low. We talked about that. Malik. We hit that as well. Appreciate the love on the whiteboard. Let's see. Imagine starting 5 as a team. Rhino is the czar of the whiteboard. I'm trying. Looking for a sponsor, by the way. Yeah, clean it up, horse. Do better, brother. I'm looking for a sponsor for the whiteboard. So if anybody wants to sponsor the whiteboard or knows somebody that might want to sponsor the whiteboard for all of our programming, not just this one, let me know.
Feel good about yourself, Ryan. You're just a part of the King's Court.
I am just a part of the King's Court, Jim. That's right. I'm happy to just be a part of the King's Court.
Feel good about yourself, Ryan. You're just a part of the King's Court.
Domas and Monk had 8 assists. More of that. Interesting. Let's see. Vacuum broke in your wood shop? No, bro. Just sneezed so hard that I think, oh my God. Okay. You know what, Jay? That's not on you, brother. Jay, that's on me. Jay, when you are here, I need to read your comments all the way through. Come on, Jay. If anybody listens to the Jim Rome show, that is the Jay from Humboldt that calls in every Thursday to talk about some beef that is bothering him that somehow usually surrounds a part of the house where there are no cameras. Hey, Jay.
Oh my God, who the hell cares?
Come on, man. Come on. Gail giving Jay love. Jay and Humboldt. Small things are the big things. Carter needs more run in Stockton. Devin needs more run in the G. Exactly, John Horse. If you try on some 38s, 36s will sound like 34s. That's a good point. You know, I actually use that, by the way. On this broadcast as an analogy. Is Jonas foul prone, or do you think the refs just call fouls because he's big? No. I think it's a combination. I think it's a combination of things. Jonas has always been a guy that's going to come in and use his 5 fouls. Dude's always going to use 6 fouls and get his money's worth. So, I don't think he's foul prone, but he has levels to his game. So if he knows, and one of the really good things Doug did was give out roles when he took over. He said, you're going to be your role. This is going to be your role. If his role is going to play more minutes than he has been, I think he can pull back a little bit. You don't want him to pull back too hard. I talked about it earlier in the show. But he's a great professional. He would be able to pull back a little bit. I don't think he's foul prone though. Keon ball handling. I agree. Keegan shot making. Isn't that crazy? That would have been the last thing on the list 2 years ago. Yes, it is very suspect, unfortunately, and you can't blame him. Well, hold on. Let's back that up for a second. If I'm the Kings, let's back it up really quick. If I'm the Kings, I don't necessarily know. I haven't seen their scout on Devin Carter, but I can't imagine, because I watched some of his film from college, that ball handling was like one of the things like, oh, you got to have this guy for that. But did the Kings underestimate where he was at in that? And what makes it so difficult to really pick that apart is the injury and the fact that he didn't have summer league. He jumped up a level, and maybe they should have kept him in Stockton longer than they did. I know that was largely up to Devin on his schedule and how he felt. Now, the decision to bring him back to the team, was it rushed because it was on national TV? That's where teams get into trouble. His dad's an assistant coach for Memphis. Did they rush it to get him out there? He had a good impact on that game, by the way. Yeah, you'll never know. But should the Kings have known more, especially when you're taking a guard that's not a point guard and not a two guard, which the Kings seem to be hyper attractive to, like hyper attracted to those guards. And I'm still trying to figure it out. Devin playing through contact. Okay, I like that. Progressive. Rhino, can you look at which point guards are currently available on waivers or who are unsigned? Yes, I will look later today. It changes daily because of the waiver process and all that. And I'm also looking at some G League guys too. A couple of high level G League guys. Murray needs to be a scorer. See, I think he has improved a little bit. Dom Dog. Ned Kelly, what's up, dude? Keegan being aggressive offensively. Yeah, I'm with you there. I think that's a good one. Keegan equals key. You want to see him post up more. Okay. Sabonis needs to take threes that the defense is giving him. Nailed it, Ian. Absolutely nailed it. It's been, I feel so weird saying this, but if you're going to knock Sabonis's game at all, he's not a bad decision maker. It's just sometimes he's a slow decision maker. And maybe it works a little bit better for him in the post, but on the perimeter, it's got to be quicker. That shot, like for me, if I'm looking at Sabonis and the percentage he's shooting this year from beyond the arc, if he's wide open, there is zero hesitation. Shoot the damn ball. I'm sure the coaches are saying the same thing, but shoot the damn ball. TNT can sponsor the whiteboard. Yeah, I think they already sponsor one, right? Why do we draft guards who can't handle the ball? I have no idea. I have no idea whatsoever. Clorox could be the sponsor. There you go. I like that. I could do that. V Diddy, I want Jonas and Domas on the floor together at least 8 minutes per game. With you, brother. With you. What's up, BJ? How you doing, dude? Underestimated or overestimated on what? Let's see. Did I miss the question? What's overestimated or underestimated? Well, I guess it doesn't matter which way you go. They underestimated the liability of his ball handling, or they overrated his ball handling. It depends on which side of that. And here's the other thing too. You don't know what the Kings had in the cards for him. They might have thought he's a guy that's never going to be bringing up the ball. But even if that's the case, I just don't know in today's NBA that you can ever draft a guard that isn't good with the basketball. It's like saying you're drafting a big man that's poor around the hoop. You know what I mean? It's just too imperative to their games. Way too imperative. He won't be. I think he's going to be okay, but you can't rush him. If I'm the Kings, I am probably keeping him in Stockton for a minimum. So Stockton, they also go on the All-Star break. By the way, we might, good friend of the show, Gabriel Harris, GM down in Stockton. We've been trying to get him on. It's not a matter of him wanting to come on. It's matching schedules. As you can imagine, he is a very, very busy guy. We might be able to slide that in during the All-Star break. So we are efforting that. But Stockton is off after Thursday. So their last game before the break is this Thursday. They're at Santa Cruz playing the Warriors, and then they don't play again until Wednesday, February 26th. Stockton doesn't play again until then. So I'm probably, if I'm the Kings, if you can get another point guard, let me get to March, because I know I'm going to be in Stockton in March. Let's see. Then once March kicks off, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4. You've got a 4-game homestand through March 9th. I'm keeping Devin down there through March 9th. Because then he's local if He needs to get to the team. He can. I am going to keep Devin in Stockton for the next 5 games, at least. And I will be at, I believe, is it the Valley Suns game? No, I'm not going to be at the Valley Suns game. I already saw them. I think I am at the Clippers, the San Diego, Saturday, March 8th. I believe I'll be there for that one. So hopefully he will be playing in that one. I'll be covering the game that night. So I would keep him there through March, or at least March 12th. Excuse me, March 9th. I would keep Devin in Stockton through March 9th, if not the entire season. And then I would also send Devin to Vegas this year. Send Devin to Vegas. Yes. Y'all trying to get him on during the offseason? No, Charles. Trying to get him on during the season. Gabe and I've been talking with Gabe. Great guy. Does an awesome job in Stockton, by the way. Since last season. So every time I go to Stockton, we catch up. So it's literally a matter of timing. He was the interim GM last season. This season, he is the GM, and they're doing a wonderful job down there. Wonderful job. So we're hoping to get him on maybe at the break. Hopefully, Gabe, if you're listening, no pressure, brother. If it works, great. If it doesn't work, no worries. We'll make it happen some other time. Reggie would have been nice. He is already signed. Whenever I am in Stockton, I march out of Stockton. Look, it's not that part of Stockton, Haunted Horse. You know this speech. It's not that part of Stockton. You get off of I-5, you make a left turn, and you make a right turn. And you're at the arena. It's not that part of Stockton. It's not. Reggie, the rich get richer, of course. Sabonis needs to develop a go-to finesse move. He needs to work more on the left hand. The right hand. I need more from Sabonis's right hand. And when I say right hand and you say finesse move, X Factor, I'm talking about a drop step. Sabonis needs a drop step so bad. He maybe drops a drop step in one time out of 25 times if the defense is playing him that way. What I mean by a drop step, let me clean this up really quick. Let me see if I have an image that I can show you, and we're going to get ready to wrap up. And I've got some closing thoughts on a few things as well. Thank you all for being here, by the way, today. Appreciate you. I know it's been a weird show because we had to restart it. So thanks for finding us. And thanks for always being here. Don't forget, Grant's going to be back at 8 o'clock tonight. I may or may not join him, but he will be here for sure. He's the one you're coming to see anyways. So make sure that you come hang out with him tonight. By the way, there was some audio from JV that I wanted to play from a couple of days ago. I thought it was really good. Here was Valančiūnas while we get the board set up.
First one is the hardest one. So, we got it now. We, got fixed a couple things and hit the road.
What do you feel is kind of like the things that stick out the most that have to kind of be addressed and kind of worked on over these next few days?
Well, we have like 4 guys, new guys. So we need to get on the same page, learn the plays, learn the terminology, I know we don't have too much practice time because it's like second part of the season, but a lot of film, a lot of, talking with coaches, walking through. We got to get it done.
Most impressive thing about tonight after you guys battled back by 20, down 20?
Well, the fans supported us no matter what, so that says a lot about this crowd and these fans. So I'm excited. I had a goosebump. So.
What was it like being at the free throw lines? Those 2 free throws crucial down the stretch.
Yeah, I was a little nervous. Not gonna deny. First game at home, and then you can't mess it up. So, but everything turned out great. So.
Yeah, and then finally, you guys are hitting the road here. I know the All-Star break right around the corner. For you, as a new guy who just got here, what's it going to be like for you? Getting settled in the city over the break, perhaps.
Well, first of all, gotta put up the plan, what I'm doing. Like, yeah, it's a lot of questions. Now I want to get acclimated to the game, to the Kings game. Then I'm gonna put everything in place, and we're gonna, I gotta talk with my wife what we're doing.
Yeah, right on. Appreciate you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Always got to talk with the boss about what you are doing. It is imperative that you talk with the boss about what you're doing, but I can just feel he's already going to be one of those guys for this team. Not that he's going to be like a big leader, but he is just going to be a difference maker in that locker room. It's just another anchor to me that only helps the locker room. It doesn't hurt the locker room. And it's not like the Kings locker room was a mess before this. I think the Kings locker room was definitely in a weird spot before this with the Fox stuff going on, which has been well documented by some people. There's a lot about the Fox situation that we are still going to talk about, whether it's in the off season or when the time is right. I don't quite think we're at that time yet, but I think it would be unfair to a lot of the fan base if we didn't hit more of it. And I know some people have hinted at it, and I feel strongly about it. I think you guys deserve to know some of the stuff that was going on and what these guys were playing through, because it wasn't always the best situation towards the end of De'Aaron's time here. And by no means am I pinning that on De'Aaron at the moment, but it's just something that you guys pay a lot of money, and I mean a lot of money, to see this team play. A ton of money. If you go to games, it's not cheap. You buy the gear, you invest your time in shows like this, in watching games. I just think that because the fans are the most important part of this equation in Sacramento, and if you don't get it with these fans, then usually you're not going to be successful in Sacramento. And I don't mean this to kiss your rear ends, but I truly believe this. I think you are the best and most knowledgeable fans in the league when it comes to basketball. I think your BS meter is off the charts. So I think that at some point that will all come up. And Grant and I, we have done our best to tippy-toe around what we feel is right to share, where we don't feel like we are crossing any lines and whatnot. And I know other hosts around here have maybe gone over the line and then backed it up, or, have gotten De'Aaron to bite. Not saying that De'Aaron would clap back at this show if we got into details, but I just don't think it really helps anybody at this point. I think this is a team that's much different. Time to move on from that. So really quick, before we wrap up and I go through my closing thoughts, don't pay attention to what Keon Ellis is doing right here. Just pay attention to Keegan Murray and Kyrie Irving right here. That's all that I want you to look at. So when I say that Domantas Sabonis needs to add a drop step, imagine that Keegan Murray has the ball right here. Okay. Keegan's got the ball. There's my bad attempt at a basketball. And let's say Kyrie is playing the defense on him right here. Okay. So most of Kyrie's body is guarding Keegan on the right side of Keegan's body. A drop step is simply when you kind of push your back into the player, which is normal. You got to feel where the player's at. But instead of starting, maybe you just do a quick shoulder shake to the right. Maybe you don't. All you do is you just drop this leg down, and it opens up your entire hips. So your hips are facing this way. They come around, and you've got a dunk right there. Sabonis rarely does that drop step. He's almost always turning towards the key when it comes to going for that half hook shot. It is rarely the drop step to the baseline. And I think part of that is because of the right hand. But yeah, Ryan is going to boo Fox. If I was at the game, I would not boo him, but I would not cheer him. That is where I stand on it. What's up, Furious? Furious, you are in such a precarious situation because I know you don't want the Kings to lose, but I also know that, like, you want a gift card from PK. And, like, what do we think the over-under is that PK is actually going to pay up? By the way, for those that don't know, $500 of this could be in Wolf's future if the Kings do not win the next 2 games against the Pelicans. Compliments of PK. That is Bennett's, by the way. Bennett's American Cookin' prime cuts of seafood and steak. Not too late to make it out for happy hour today, 2 to 6 o'clock. In fact, 2 to 6 o'clock every single day. Also tonight, they've got a it's Tuesday, excuse me. Last night, they had the Monday wine and dine special, 2 entrees, bottle of wine, under $70. Some of our favorites on the menu, the New York Prime, incredible. BG's had that. Also, the redfish, if you're a seafood fan, really, really good. It's not red like Grant's hair. It's just blackened, and it's a cut of fish that you don't usually find around these parts. Awesome. Comes with a side of sauteed spinach and garlic and a grilled lemon, one of our go-tos. If you want something on the lighter side, they've got it as well. Incredibly good and fresh salads. Love the steak Cobb salad there. Also, homemade soups. And just about anything you can think of. Like, even people have come in here talking about the meatloaf. And by the way, BG came on the show earlier and said that he got to meet the man himself, Brian Bennett, and they gave him a 15% off discount for mentioning that he found out about them here on the channel. Not saying Brian's going to give that to everybody, but what's it hurt? Let him know that you heard about him here on the channel, and let us know when you go out to Bennett's. 3 locations here in the greater Sacramento area: Roseville, Rockland, Howell, and Fair Oaks. Go check them out. Bennett'sRestaurants.com. You can make reservations, see all the menu specials. One of our favorites, Sunday brunch, 11 to 2, every weekend at all 3 locations. Big thanks to them. Again, Bennett'sRestaurants.com for more information. One last check of the chat. This is my last check of the chat. I'm not coming back to the chat after I look at it right now. So if there's anything you need to get off your chest, now is the time to do it. Adam, all right, you got it. I got you. You are in love with that drop, my man. Look at Finchy. I don't know if they got asparagus there, man. I'm not sure what you're going to do. Ryan should do live at the Kings games. Nah, I don't think so. I don't see a big reason to do it live at the Kings games. It's just too difficult. And I doubt the Kings would probably have us out. I don't know. But I have done live from Stockton before. I did that last year. I did a halftime show from Stockton. So maybe you'll get something like that at some point. 500 pennies. Dennis, it's way more than 500 pennies, man. It's 5,000 pennies, right? Yes. 5,000 pennies. Looks like he is staying with the Pelicans. Okay, you guys are talking other stuff. Been listening to Grant for 35 years now, but I'm not going to boo Fox just because Grant says so. Exactly. 100%, Donald. To each their own. To each their own. I agree, Charles. I agree. I don't know, and PK is kind of a polarizing figure here on this channel. I don't know if PK can show his face on this channel until that gift card's paid. I mean, I don't know in good faith if I can bring PK on the phones if Furious tells me he hasn't gotten that gift card. And Furious, don't for a second let PK pull the, oh, well, I'm not in Sacramento, so I can't get to a Bennett's, but I'll be in Sacramento in a few weeks. You can go to Bennett'sRestaurants.com and buy gift cards right there. So there you go. By the way, we are going to try to do a live event from Bennett's this season. We've done them in the past. We did them for playoff games. 2 years ago, Grant and I did a charity event where we raised $16,000 at the Roseville location, where both Grant and I got our heads shaved. Yes, got our heads shaved for charity. Wasn't that big of a deal for me because I used to keep my hair short all the time. But for Grant, that was pretty funny. Christian Wood to be waived by the Lakers. Interesting. Let's see. Grant's got to do a rant on for sure. PK staying in NYC. I know he's in NYC right now. I am more of an East Coast type of fan, so I am booing. Yeah, again, each their own. I think here's the problem that's going to happen. And again, I want to get to my closing thoughts because they're probably the most important of the show. I think the Kings are in a very difficult position. I think the Kings are in a precarious position when it comes. Oh yeah, you don't want to lose that game. You do not want to lose that game. You do not want to lose that game. Ryan should grow a mullet. If Ryan should bet that he grow a mullet. No, man, I'm not. I would not be able to grow a mullet. PK might be able to. I can't because of my hair. There's no chance. Yes, of course. This show's all about you guys. This show's for you. That's why I stay on for a couple hours with you. Rhino needs to get his clothing thoughts in. Boxers or briefs? No, bro. You are the only person on your show that talks about your undergarments. Besides, basketball players have different rules when it comes to undergarments. If you're a hooper, you know what I'm talking about. That doesn't mean that, that doesn't mean that undergarments aren't in play if you're a hooper. But, there's basketball players sometimes wear multiple pairs of basketball shorts. So I'm just saying, different rules apply. The gift card's going up 5,000. Now we're talking wrestling. Okay, back to my thought. So I want to close this out because we do need to go here in a minute. Maybe I'll be back later tonight. Grant will be at 8 o'clock, so join him. The Kings are in a precarious position because what do? Do you throw out the red carpet? Do you do a big video tribute? And the targeted audience that the Kings are going to be thinking about is not all of you. I'm sorry to break your heart here. They're not going to be thinking about you. They're going to be thinking about their season ticket holders. That's where the Kings' mind is going to be at. Because we are right around that time. We had a season ticket holder on just, I want to say a week and a half ago. And we asked, when are they asking you to re-up? And it's right about now. It's going to be right in that period where Fox is coming back. So the Kings are going to be focused on what are they going to want the most? Do we do a big tribute? Do we do no tribute? What's going to be the right thing to do? I don't know the answer to it. It's going to be a tribute. I think what you do, if it's me, it's a video tribute. It's that. It's probably a little bit of like if I'm Scott Moak.
And now it is that time. Your time.
Like, the end of his energy right there. To me, I'm not going full De'Aaron Fox and giving him all the echoes. I'm not doing full that, but I'm giving him a little bit more than the other guys get, like 5'6" guard out of Northwestern, Cam Holland. You're giving him a little bit more. But I think you do a video before the game. Period. End of story. You do nothing during the game. You don't do an extended, because then you are putting the fans. In fact, the Kings, to a degree, can kind of force the fan reaction here. If they're going to do an extended intro for De'Aaron, and they're going to give like 3 minutes of time or allocate 3 minutes of time for a standing ovation from the G1C, what's the G1C going to do? They're going to have to stand and clap. So we've got time to talk about it. It's not that important. There's more important things, but how the Kings play this is going to be incredibly important to the fan base and the season ticket holders. That's for sure. And winning that game, holy crap. You have got to win that basketball game. You cannot get blown out in that basketball game. All right, let's get to some closing thoughts. Few things that stood out to me over the last 24 hours. As you know, we've talked at length about the game last night. However, what's going on in Dallas is insane. It is. And I don't know who's right, who's wrong in this situation. I think it's kind of funny that the Dallas fans have gone to some of the extents that they have in this sense. It was cute bringing caskets to the American Airlines Center. Picketing, cute. I get it. Death threats, not cute. Not cool. Not okay. Over the freaking line. So, to the fans last night that were ejected at the Mavericks game, there's an article on ESPN.com. 2 of the fans held large posted board signs saying, or that read, "Fire Nico," a reference to Dallas general manager Nico Harrison. One of those men was seen mouthing "Fire Nico" on the arena video screens earlier in the game before the camera quickly panned out. In the first incident, the guest brought in a sign that broke the following rule included in the NBA Code of Conduct, which is clothing, garments, or signs displaying explicit language, profanity, or derogatory characterizations towards any persons. Mavericks Vice President of Corporate Communications, Aaron Fingold, said in a statement released to reporters, "Hey, Dallas fan, I don't think you should have gotten ejected, nor would you have gotten ejected on a normal night for signs that say 'Fire Nico.' But this is a classic case of the 1% ruining it for the 99% that are voicing their opinion the right way, that are doing it reasonably, that are doing it in a playful way to a degree. But because that 1% is threatening Nico Harrison's life, and by the way, don't come up in here and tell me that you can't take that serious. Come on, like nobody's going to do that. It's 2025, yo. You have no idea what people are going to do. And we're not talking about just a basketball team that people are fans of. We're talking about people's money. And I'm not talking about the season ticket holders. I am talking about people that have legitimate big bets on this Mavericks team. Future bets about the Mavericks winning their division. Luka being MVP. Maybe that one can still work. Bad example. Etc., etc., etc. You never know what somebody will do when you F with their money. And a lot of people view sports not just for the sport. In fact, I would say they view sport more for the gambling. I know people, I know a viewer that watches this show that doesn't religiously watch some sports, but he subscribes to a system that tells him how to bet certain sports. And he makes a profit off of that system. It is what it is. Normal world, fire Nico, all good. Ain't a normal world anymore. Can't do it. So I blame the 1%. I don't blame the Dallas Mavericks for ejecting people. I understand Mark Cuban had somebody, there's footage of it where it's shut the F up, sit the F down. Cuban yelled at the people. Look, I can tell you this. If you're disruptive, they will throw you out. but you will usually get a warning. In this case, with death threats, there is no warning. Second thing that I want to talk about before we close, Kessler freaking Edwards. Kessler Edwards. What can I say about this young man? He was a guy that y'all know very well. He was acquired here in Sacramento through a trade exception with the Brooklyn Nets a couple of trade deadlines ago. And not a lot of high hopes placed on Kessler. But one thing that Kessler did was this dude always stayed ready. It didn't matter what you asked him to do. He did it with a smile on his face. And he always, his mental game was always at its top. He is one of, in my time covering the Kings, one of my favorite people besides Mason Jones that I have had the opportunity to sit down, talk with, chit-chat with extensively, especially down in Stockton. Kessler Edwards so many times would come from a Kings road trip and then be, and I'm not talking about like a 2-game trip. Kessler would come from a 6-game trip, a 7-game trip where he did not play 1 minute of basketball. And the next night after they're back in Sacramento, he is in Stockton playing for the Stockton Kings. Dude was not phased. Dude was committed to his grind. And the reason that Kessler Edwards is still in the NBA, it's up here. It is 100% up here. I remember last year in Stockton, he came off of one of those trips. It was a trip in which he actually got some minutes on the trip. And he was down. He got assigned to Stockton to get some more run. And I'm like, Kess, dude, like, how are you doing this right now? Like, seriously, Kess, like, are you exhausted? Your time clock off? What's going on? How are you doing it? He just looked at me before the game and he just went like that. Some players talk about having it up here. That dude truly has it up there. Different type of breed. I don't care that he is a Dallas Maverick. I don't care that he played against the Kings. I was so happy to see him still getting opportunities in the NBA, and not only getting opportunities, but getting starts, even if it's on a Dallas team that is just absolutely ravaged by injuries and in transition because of Luka. You know what that is? That is Kessler staying ready for his moment. Congratulations to Kess. He had 4 early points last night, but I was so excited to see him get some minutes starting in Dallas. And I'm telling you, not a better person that I had really come across here in Sacktown. Love Kess. So congratulations to him. Had to get that in. And the last thing, the one thing that I did not expect whatsoever to catch traction, but it did. Last night during the Kings game, in crunch time, I put out a tweet. You see it right there. That was before the show. It was already at 14,000 views. All it said was Katie didn't know the Kings were winning. Period. Whoa. Period. Now, what followed that was DeMar DeRozan trying to make that bucket up too, to which I retweeted my tweet. And I said, apparently the Kings didn't either. And that was the end of it, right? So, fast forward to the fallout from all of this. I don't know how many likes it has now, how many comments it has now. The only reason that I'm bringing it up is for 2 things. It is never, ever, ever, ever personal. Some of you decide that these things are personal. They're not. I have 0 against Katie Christensen. I really like Katie Christensen. I think Katie Christensen is in an impossible situation. Impossible. Not only does she have to follow Grant Napier and Jerry Reynolds, she has to do so with no experience calling NBA games and doesn't even have a consistent partner to work with. She's going in between 2 people different styles, different ways of calling games. I feel for Katie Christensen, and it physically makes me sick when I see some of you go over the line and read some of the comments that I read between last night and today. It's got to stop. It's really got to stop. And I'm going to take it a step further. I woke up this morning. One of the things that I do every single morning after a Kings game is I go on YouTube and I read the comments. I see what the new comments are from people that did not watch the show live. And one of the comments said, I'm going to paraphrase, that we have got to stop this hate for Katie, Mark, and Drapes. Hate is a really strong word. A very strong word. And that hit me really, really hard. It hit me so hard that I did an entire podcast that is audio exclusive. It's only about 20 minutes that you need to go listen to, because there are so many people that are watching the postgame show after the fact. There are people that are watching the postgame show during and coming in and saying, why do you guys hate Katie Christensen? Why do you hate Kyle Draper? We don't hate Kyle Draper. I don't hate Kyle Draper. In fact, I love Kyle Draper. I talk about him on the podcast that I recorded this morning. I'll tell you in short right here. I saw Drapes a few weeks ago. I'm like, dude, what's up? We had a great chat. And I'm like, you realize people think we hate each other, right? And he's like, what? They do? And I'm like, yeah, it's insane. And it's because of the same people that are putting those comments in. Do you understand that when we talk about the things with the broadcast, the last thing we want to talk about, do you think Grant Napier wants to come on his show and talk about the broadcast that he no longer does? A broadcast that he feels like he should be doing? Do you think that's our choice? Do you think that this is a witch hunt and we have this platform because we want to tear other people down? No. We don't have a choice between the messages we get on Twitter, both publicly and privately, the messages that Grant gets, and then the million messages in the chat that say, oh, dude, the broadcast messed up. So what do we do? What do we do? Do we ignore it and be part of the problem? Be like some of the other content producers out here in town that are yes men? No, we hit it head on. Our duty is to the truth. It's unbiased. We give you our takes on what we see and what we hear. And so for people to continue turning this stuff around on Grant and saying, well, Grant, how do you know? Because you don't even watch the broadcast. Will you just slow down, open your damn ears, and listen anytime Grant talks about this? Just listen. Shut your mouth, take your fingers off the keyboard, and listen to what Grant is saying. It always starts with, I don't watch the Kings broadcast, but I am receiving an incredible amount of messages saying the same thing. And then you look at our chat and it's all there. The chat goes so quick that half the time, some of you probably don't see what's in there. Half the time, we don't see what's in there. This is never a witch hunt or an attack. There are no agendas here to go after Katie Christensen. But I am sorry. If it is any Kings announcer, any NBA announcer that appears to not know the score in a 2-point game, and I don't bring it up, what's that make me? when all of you heard the same thing and are questioning the same thing. Again, I feel for Katie. I think Katie is a great person. It physically makes me sick to see some of you taking this over the line. Now, back to the word hate. Go listen to my podcast. It's on Apple. It's on Spotify. It's wherever you can find podcasts. And we talk about the word hate because there is a proper place to address that word. Live here is not it. I did it on my podcast. Go check it out. And I have no regrets about anything that I had to say. But let me assure you, none of us on this channel hate anyone that works for the Kings, does Kings games. We don't hate them. Period. End of story. We can be in the same business and not be enemies. It's getting ridiculous. So for those that think we are going after Katie, please go listen to my podcast. Please go do that. King's Court, go check it out. And I agree with many of you in the chat that are saying Drapes should be the full-time announcer. Could not agree more. Drapes 100% should be the full-time announcer. Go listen to the podcast. I go into it. So, hey, I appreciate everybody here today. What a day. Full day. Make sure you join Grant back at 8 o'clock tonight. And I'm serious. It's important. If you're invested in this whole thing, if you're somebody, I rarely do this. I honestly rarely drive you to my audio channel. But if you are a regular around here that watches this show, you need to go listen to the podcast that I put out. It's that important. It really is. So go check it out. Apple, Spotify, The King's Court with Ryan. Thank you guys so much. Appreciate each and every one of you. Even you, Jay. Appreciate you as well. Make sure that you make it a great day. Also, do us a favor on the way out the door. If you haven't, give us a thumbs up. We would really appreciate it. Come back tonight. Grant will be here at 8 p.m. Open Forum Tuesday. I'm not sure if I will be there with him. Maybe you'll have to show up and see. But Grant for sure will be there tonight talking a ton of things. A lot going on in the news and in the world of sports. So, all right, be good. Go Kings. Light the damn beam. Lord bless. Give some basketball IQ to Zach LaVine. Is that too harsh? Maybe that was too harsh. I want Zach to work so bad. I sat here for 6 months saying stay the heck away from LaVine. Now that he's here and he's not here with Fox, I'm good with it. I just want it to work. Get the man a point guard. The Kings need a point guard. And by the way, yes, I am happy to be a part of the King's Court.
Feel good about yourself, Ryan. You're just a part of the King's Court.
Dismissed.